This is not talking about the new moon. This is talking about how the moon looks full on these two solemn feast days. One in particular that this chapter 81 is talking about.
So it's not even talking about the first day of the month. It's talking about the 15th day of the month.
That's it.
The middle of the month.
Which is a solemn feast day on that first month.
Yeah. And then just think about the word new. And think about life in general. When something's new, is it already complete? Or in life, does it start off at an infant stage or a small stage and it grows to its apex and then it starts to die off again? That's how life goes. The moon takes that same thing. It starts off small, it grows to this great huge light, and then it starts to do what? Die down until it becomes nothing. And it's nothing. And then we see that first light again. He's like, oh shoot, there's a moon. It's new. There was no moon. How can it be a new moon? You can't even see it. There's no moon. And now you see some light on it. Ah, the new moon.
Big. And then on its decline, it starts to get smaller, wither away, die, or either recycles. All humans do it.
The years do it. The plants do it. People do it. Animals do it.
Everything has a law that it has to abide by. Human beings have a law that it has to abide by. The moon, the ocean, the sun, everything has a law. The trees all have a law that it has to abide by, that God created. So let's go ahead and check out these ordinances or laws the way the Most High God created it.
All right, we're going to the Apocrypha. We're going to Ecclesiasticus or Sirach. If you have the red book, it's page 96. So Sirach chapter 43. I'll start at verse 1.
Context.
Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 43 and verse 1. The pride of the height, the clear firmament, the beauty of heaven with his glorious shew.
So right now, just reading this, the pride of the height, we're talking about what God created as far as the firmament, the heavens above, these clouds, the lights that you see, and how proud the height of everything is. Everybody understand it so far? The pride of the height, the clear firmament, the beauty of heaven with this glorious show. Okay.
Verse 2. The sun, when it appeareth, declaring at his rising a marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High.
Read it again.
The sun, when it appeareth, declaring at his rising a marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High.
We're starting to see actions. First, it was talking about everything that's in the heavens, the firmament, and everything above it. Now it's starting to specify the sun. And the special thing about the sun is you see it growing. It says, the sun when it appeareth, which means sometimes it don't appear. So when the sun appeareth, what?
And it ain't all just at one time, just pow, hit you in the face.
It ain't like a light switch. You know what I'm saying? It grows, as it says, when it appeareth, declare it at his rising a marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High. Okay, let's go.
At noon it parcheth the country, and who can abide the burning heat thereof?
So now we got at noon, not in the morning, not in the evening, not at night, but it says at noon it parcheth the country. This is at its highest peak. When the sun is at its highest peak, it is the hottest. It said parcheth the country, and who can abide the burning of the heat thereof?
A man blowing a furnace is in his works of the heat, but the sun burneth the mountains 3 times more, breathing out fiery vapors and sending forth bright beams. It dimmeth the eyes.
So we're seeing the action or the ordinance of the Most High God. I'm going to create this sun because I created the sun, the moon, the bright lights, or the lights, 2 lights. This all happened on the 4th day, I believe. 4th day, he created all this in the heavens and the firmament. And it says that the actions of it is, and the attributes of it is, it burns. It's hot. It rises and then it burns. It's hot. Come on.
Great is the Lord that made it, and at his commandment it runneth hastily.
So it runneth hastily, which means it has a cycle. At this point, the sun comes up, shines at its brightest peak, and then it runs its course. And it starts to come down. Come on.
He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world.
So now we actually seeing the second light that he created, which is the moon. And it says the moon serves in her season, a declaration of times, a sign of the world. Okay, so now we're talking about the moon. We were talking about the sun. Now we're talking about the moon. Now keep in mind, when we're talking about the sun, we were talking about the actions of the sun, the ordinances, the laws of which God, how he created it to rise and then to set. Let's see if the moon does the exact same thing.
Verse 7, from the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven.
So let's go back to verse 7. It says, from the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. So we know that the moon at some point starts to not be as bright as it once was.
When it's perfect and then it begins to decrease, is all verse 6 is saying.
7.
Verse 7.
From the moon is a sign of feast. Now we know we were talking about this whole new moon. When we were talking about within this new moon on the 15th day, at least 2 times on these solemn feast days, that moon is what? Bright, full. And it says here, the moon is a sign of feast. These 2 solemn days we're talking about are feast days. As the light decreaseth in her perfection. So we're going to go through verse 8 and then come back to verse 7. Read verse 8 again.
Sirach chapter 43 and verse 8. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven.
Now let's slow that down and read verse 8 again.
The month is called after her name.
Stop right there. How do we declare each new month?
By the moon.
We declare each new month by the moon. It says the month is called after her name. We declare each month by the new moon. Okay, so if we're starting at the beginning of the month, keep reading.
Increasing wonderfully in her changing.
So wait a minute. So at the new month or the new moon, what does the moon do?
Increasing wonderfully in her changing.
So now in the beginning of the new month, the moon starts to increase, not decrease, increase. If it's increasing, which means the light is getting brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. Come on.
Being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven.
Now again, Ezekiel started this class to say, this is how we see it. Not to say we're right or wrong, but just going through comparative text and reading that the moon has a cycle. This is how we come up with our understanding and how we believe the moon looks in the beginning of the month. Verse 8 is a dead giveaway. The month is called after her name, and then it starts to increase. Well, verse 7 says, from the moon is a sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. So according to Psalms 81, which we like to go to as far as every congregation to be able to dictate what the moon looks like or how it should look in a particular time. That chapter is talking about the 15th day, and it says it is full. Predicated what we see on the 15th day, doesn't matter which month, on the 15th day, that moon is full. So it can't possibly be full on the first day or the new month. If in the middle of the month, it's full. The month has to start somewhere. It has to start low and then increase in the light.
And I like how you broke down verse 8 where it says the month is called after her name, because now it's talking about the month there. It's talking about the month right there. And then it says increasing wonderfully And they're changing. Hey, because people like to put verse 7 and 8 together and saying it's talking about the rotation or the cycle of the moon. People like to say verse 7 and 8 is talking about the cycle of the moon because it's written that way, because it's saying decrease first and then it says increasing, but it ain't talking about the cycle of the moon.
It's not. Again, these words are very imperative, and you got to make sure you're paying attention. Even if you didn't have Sirach 43, the 15th day is supposed to be a full moon.
Supposed to be, according to Psalms 83.
The 15th day, 13th, 14th, 15th day, 16th day, the moon should be fuller than the first day. So it cannot possibly be full on the first or the beginning of the month.